Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Uh-huh. Um, so captions should be on. In fact, you should be able to see them. Okay. Can you see our transcript? Should be running. All right,
Uh,
Barbara.
I have it. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, hold on a second. I think
View.
yes.
Good, good. Okay. We'll start with check-ins, your name and your branch and your issue committee. And if we'll start with Barbara Taft, and Barbara, if you will pass it on after you do your name and branch and issue committee. Thanks.
Hi, everyone. I'm Barbara Taft, and I'm with the Greater Phoenix branch and also on the leadership team of the Middle East Peace and Justice Action Committee. Odile, you're next.
Oh, I am Odile Hugonow-Heber, and I am from Ann Arbor, Michigan. Um, I was just with Cheryl in New York for the TPNW, and so we still have our heads full of report and thoughts. Anyway, that's what's going on. And I just had a meeting at the library of Move the Money, Michigan.
Who do you pass it on to, Odile?
Oh, I am passing on to Gloria Macmillan.
Hey, I'm gonna get my face on here if I can. Oh, nope, there I go again. Hello, what was the question? I was having trouble logging
Name
in.
and branch and issue committee. That's it.
Oh, okay.
Oh, sorry.
Gloria McMillan, Branch Tucson and Campus Tucson, and issue committee is it's actually a collaborative working group, CCS, the Communications Access, Culture and the Arts, and Sensitization. Now,
And
should
you
I
pass
pass
it
it?
on. Yes.
I don't know who's already spoken.
Only two people spoke before you.
Okay, so Lenny, have you spoken?
I have not. I'm Lenny Villagomez Reeves from Fresno Branch, and I'm the co-chair of the Cuba and the Bolivarian Alliance Issue Committee. Pass it to Jan Quarterman.
Yeah, hi, everybody. Jan Quarterman from the Des Moines branch and the Tucson branch. I claim them also. And on the leadership team for MEPJAC. Thank you.
And you pass it on to.
I'll pass it on to Joan.
And I'll put my video on just in time. Yeah, I'm Joan Goddard from the San Jose, California branch in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I am on several committees, but not chairing any. Thank you very much. And I am going to call on Cheryl Spencer if she's able to unmute. I should have picked somebody who was.
No, I can do it. Cheryl Spencer, speaking with a piece of gauze in her mouth from Palo Alto, California. My branch is actually called the Peninsula and Palo Alto branch here in Northern California. I am a co-chair of the Disarm End Wars Issue Committee. Thank you. And I call on Diane.
Hi, everyone. I'm Diane Blay with the Jane Addams branch and the Disarm Issue Committee, which is the oldest issue committee. And I'll pass it on to Nancy. I see she's unmuted.
Yes, thank you. Nancy Price here in Davis, California. I meet up with the Sacramento branch and I'm co-chair with Jean Hayes of the Fresno branch of the Earth Democracy Committee. Thank you. And I'll pass it on to, oh my gosh, let me see. Teresa.
Thank you, Nancy. Great to see you. I'm Teresa Elamine. I'm the organizer of the Fannie Lou Hamer branch, and we just celebrated our 4th anniversary. As you can see from the poster there, that's my video. And I'm the former chair of Advancing Human Rights. the new co-chairs were elected last night at the umbrella meeting. I hope people got to watch the recording from last night's feminist democracy meeting. I'll pass it on to Dee Murphy.
Hi, thank you, Teresa. Dee Murphy, Chair of Domestic Prisoners of War Committee, and Jane Addams Branch. I'm in Minnesota. And I will pass it on to Philip Cole.
Good evening. I am Philip Cole, member of the San Francisco branch and a member of the Mini Grant Committee. I'm unable to stay on the whole meeting, but I'm only here to inform this group that the Mini Grant Committee is up and ready to go on April 1st. We sent the revision of the guidelines to Glenn Ruga 3 weeks ago. We're waiting for it to appear on the so-called website. That is where things are falling apart. So hopefully the website will be live soon and the information will be out there soon. Otherwise, we'll have to come up with a solution by the first of the month. Thank you.
Okay. Heideco, can we hear from you? Name, branch, and issue committee if you're part of one.
Are you speaking to me?
Yes,
Yes.
Hideko.
Yes, I've been participating in Disarm Committee, and I always was very interested in Barbara Nielsen's statements, and so I, wanted to participate to hear.
Glad to have you here.
Thank you.
I think that's everybody but me.
No.
If you haven't introduced yourself, let me know. Oh, Mary Beth. And Julie.
Barbara
Mary Beth
Nielsen
and then
as
Julie.
well.
Yeah.
I'm Mary Beth Hardam. I'm in Iowa City, Iowa. I'm chair of the Women, Money, and Democracy Committee. Good to see everybody.
Barbara,
Julie can go first.
you're unmuted.
Okay, thank you, Barbara. I'm Julie Kabukani from the Boston branch, and I'm part of the AHR committee and on the DRC and conflict mineral in Africa issue committee, I guess.
Julie, you are officially one of the new co-chairs of AHR, so own it.
It's so soon. Yes, so the new co-chair with Amina of the AHR committee. Thank you.
Thanks. Barbara?
Thank you. I'm Barbara Nielsen. I have been a member of the San Francisco branch since 2005. Before that, I was a member since 1971 of the Berkeley East Bay branch. I do many things, but I'm an elected member of the national board and I'm our national treasurer and participate on this call and am thrilled that Hideko was able to be on this call as well to learn what we're doing about program and for us to be able to talk about ideas for the August activities that we should be engaging in to commemorate the events then.
Thanks, Barbara. I'm George in the Southern Piedmont branch in Shelby. I'm your program issue committee chair and glad we're convening this meeting. So now we each get to see how you guys can compress great information into very little time. We start with AHR for 2 or 3 minutes each. But your hand is up, Teresa. Do you have a question before you go?
Well, yes, and it can be answered after we finish the committee list. But I didn't want Philip to leave before the question is answered, since he announced that the mini grant process and program would start April 1, and I thought it was on hold until the actual budget was approved. And I thought that was going to kind of take place on March 29th at the board meeting, but I won't wait for an answer now. But maybe Barbara Nielsen or Philip can answer that question when the committees have reported. And I'll be very brief with my excitement that last night, through a consensus process, which I love Roberta's Rules of Order as opposed to Robert's Rules of Order, where we make sure we answer everybody's concerns and there's no unreadiness. And that was achieved last night to install Julie Kabukani and Amina Pilgrim as the new co-chairs with impressive credentials. So I'll yield the rest of the time to Julie to say what she would like to say, since she's one of the new co-chairs and she's present. Thank you, Julie, for relieving me.
Yes, I'm very honored that you're giving me, the opportunity to talk. Can I take some time? I just got home from a 12-hour shift, so I just want to take like 10 minutes to get situated, and then I'll talk about my what I have to talk about. Thank you.
Okay, you'll have 2.5 minutes left, because Teresa, y'all have only taken 30 seconds. So I will come back to you, but go to the next group is CCS. If you will talk for 2 or 3 minutes and tell us about what's going on.
All right, I want to report from our chair of our Tucson branch that she goes to the Quaker meeting, and we have a long-term, maybe 40, 50 year, maybe not 50, Ted Warmbrand is a musician, and he's been leading singing fest here in Tucson, and they're all old labor, civil rights, and peace songs. And we're going to have one at 2:30 on Sunday. And Deb Livingston is going to be leading from Wilf. And so that's coming up on Sunday, and she's a member of our CCS. The other thing is working with Eileen Kurkowski and Ellen Mass. We have put together the and they're both members of CCS. We put together the 110th anniversary of Wilf in Boston, where I'm going to show this video about Emily Green Balch and her Slavic field work that led to our Slavic Fellow Citizens, her most famous book in 1910. And that will connect with Katia Confortini. Yeah, Confortini's presentation. And I just talked to her on the phone too about how it ties in with Haitian work that EGB did. And then last Saturday, I worked with Kate Skagg of the Chicago Wilf, and she's also in CCS. And we put on a video about Josefa Humpel-Zeman, the invisible co-founder of Wilf in Chicago. Well, not Wilf, I'm sorry, of Hull House in Chicago, who has disappeared unjustly from history. And we're recovering her back into the Hull House and Chicago history that led to Wilf. And that's it for me.
Okay.
Okay. So first of all, I want to say thank you for the honor to lead the AHR committee, me and Amina. So I just want to talk very briefly about the goals that we have. Me and Amina will meet so we can talk about this. So the goals for 2025 will be to strengthen coordination across all working groups, to increase participation and branch involvement, to ensure diverse, inclusive leadership and community engagement. We want to develop shared campaigns or actions between groups. We also want to support the national WILF priority through grassroots organizing. So the next step will be to set the next umbrella meeting agenda and to gather some updates from all working groups. And then my time is up?
No, it's not.
Okay.
You've got another minute.
Okay, and then we're gonna try as much as we can to schedule a one-on-one with conveners for a deeper listening and support. Thank you.
Thank you. So now we can hear from Lenny about Cuba and Bolivarian Alliance.
Well, what we've been up to recently was, of course, the 3 webinars that we presented in conjunction with UNCSW parallel events regarding women's rights, reproductive rights, and LGBTQ rights. We have participated in the U.S.-Cuba Normalization Conference. For the future, although we haven't yet organized a WILPF delegation to Cuba, we're gonna and in the meantime, there are a lot of May Day delegations going that I think people would feel very welcome in, including a Code Pink delegation. There is a new campaign of material aid to make up for some of the deficiencies created in Cuba by the U.S. blockade, and that is a pacemaker campaign. We're going to try to work this year at cross-linking and connecting organizations, including Black Alliance for Peace, Americas Without Sanctions, and other organizations that are basically doing the same work. We invite you to join us. Thanks.
George, you probably know you're muted.
Y'all did really good, especially since I'm not on camera, so you can't see my lips move and no sound come out. Thank you. So now we can hear from Diane and Disarm.
Okay. So Disarm is the oldest issue committee. We have over 60 members on our email list, and about 25 are active in our 12 ongoing campaigns. Here are our top priorities. We're getting support for the TPNW, the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons. We support Nuclear Weapons Abolition and Conversion Act, the Norton Bill. This bill, number 8, House Resolution 1888, has been introduced into the current Congress for many years, and we're working to get more co-sponsors for it now. We are a founding member of the Warheads to Windmills campaign to move the money from nuclear weapons into use it to address climate change. An important goal of our committee is to reduce the U.S. military budget. We are partners of the CUT, the Pentagon, and People Over Pentagon issue committees. Another tactic we are advocating for is divesting money from the military-industrial complex. And you could see divest from the war machine, that Disarm members are very active in demonstrating against the ICBMs, which sit around the United States like sitting ducks. Their proposed modernization will cost $1 trillion over the next 30 years. We educate the public about the need to deal with radioactive waste in contaminated lands created by the decades of producing nuclear weapons. We've been advocating for peace for 110 years. We're not stopping. Thank you.
That's great, Diane, and you'll have to probably repeat it for the official recording that Mary Beth asked our issue committees to do.
I was confused about that. I couldn't understand. Okay. I was looking at the agenda. I didn't see that listed in the agenda for tonight. Okay.
We have a different part of the script that she will use for the recording. This was just currently what we're doing.
Okay, and it was great. It was exactly what I hoped we'd do, giving Linda an idea of what our issue committees do. And now, domestic prisoners of war.
Thank you. Thank you, Julie, for relieving Teresa too. We are looking forward to working with AHR in the near future. Deepel, I'm sorry?
You're welcome. We will work together.
They couldn't have picked a better person. I've worked with Julie in the past. She is amazingly organized and detailed, and it's a really great pick for advancing human rights.
Thank you.
So congratulations again. So Deepal has just finished our October presentation. We have a video presentation release that is going to go out to the branches list, and it's going to likely just be circulated on a YouTube channel. We're not going to do a live one until next October again. As everyone's aware, October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and we normally have a live webinar. We got set back by the passing of my mother in early October, and I've been very engaged, I guess, with settling her affairs. It was a very sudden, like within 2 days, she went in the hospital and was gone. So it was very sudden. No one was prepared. No one knew how ill she was, and it kind of set us back and everything. And then we like to do something in June too, which is midway through the year. And of course, we had the Congress last June, so we just that goalpost keeps moving away, but we're chasing it. So we're working on our June presentation now. We got the October one done, and it's ready for release. We're working on a June. We'll probably have another live one in October. We've had discussions in the committee regarding aligning with other organizations on social issues that affect our demographic. Such as cuts to Medicaid, which a lot of survivors of domestic abuse wind up depending on social programs due to the setbacks financially that occur in our lives. So we're just having a discussion on that, and like I said, we'll be back in track for October. My mother's memorial is also this June, but annually in Minnesota, there is a major convention of various organizations that work on issues of domestic violence. So there is a consortium, let's say. I won't make it this June.
1 minute.
Okay, I won't make it this June, but I'm anticipating making it next June, and we're maintaining for now. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks. Earth Democracy.
Yes, hello. So I hope you all know that April 22nd is Earth Day. The theme is Our Power, Our Planet. So that's a perfect theme for which for Earth Democracy to launch ourselves forward. First of all, I'd just like to give you an update on the Vermont Military Poisons project, because they have legislation pending in the Vermont State Legislature that will tackle several of the issues that affect mainly public health and the health of women and children from the PFAS forever chemicals. Second, going forward now, I've been asked to write some handouts for Earth Day. So the first handout is going to be on the PFAS contamination of soils and agricultural fields from the application of fertilizer that is contaminated with PFAS forever chemicals. The fertilizer has been processed from the wastewater treatment plants, from the sludge of wastewater treatment plants, and the fertilizer end product was never tested for PFAS. So there are many complications from that in the contamination of soils. And also, for example, in Maine, 70 farms have had to be shut down because the dairy cattle were eating the grass, and PFAS was therefore contaminating the milk. The next handout is going to be on the Climate Justice, Women, and Peace for Earth Day, to focus on the issue of military impacts on climate, on global warming, and on contamination of Mother Earth. And these will be, I'll send these handouts to the branches to use for Earth Day, and then we will develop our 2025 program from these handouts and other materials that we will create. I also might just say that Pat Elder continues with his research and publication of his articles and has been receiving quite a bit of attention lately on his work that is being done on Fort Ord, one of the largest bases in California near Monterey and Santa Cruz. So thank you very much. And
thanks, Nancy.
Oh, I guess you go to the next person, don't you?
Yes, unless you have you've got some time left.
Oh, I do have time left. Well, let's see.
40 seconds.
40 seconds. Well, Marguerite Edelman and I are going to apply for another Patagonia grant. So keep your fingers crossed. Thank you.
Yeah, it took no time. All right. We're going to hear from the Middle East Peace and Justice Action Committee.
Yeah, thank you. I thought I'd go ahead and speak. I don't think I'll take the 3 minutes, and I'm really glad Barbara and Odile are both here and they can weigh in as well. So let me share what I have prepared. I guess I want to say we're very fortunate on our committee. We have a vast knowledge of history and current events just through the members of our committee. Some of them have visited Palestine and other MENA countries, often many times, often for extended periods. So they share their what they've learned with us, and it's really a big resource. We also have Nada Farhat, who I know many of you have met. She's on our leadership team. She's from Lebanon. She spends about half of her year there, so she can give us up-to-date information. It's great to have her on our team as well. In terms of what we've done, we've got a resource list, and I hope you all took a look at it. We sent it out about a year ago, and probably could have sent it out a bunch more times. But anyway, it was a reading list and a movie list that was distributed. I just got another copy from Barb because I couldn't find mine. We know we need to update that, but that's still available for anybody that would like to see it again. We're continuing our history of submitting e-news articles regularly, and several on our committee do that. It's not just from one of us. So please watch for those, and we hope you take a look at those when you see them. Jeannie Silver is a real resource for our committee. She sends out articles and actions that people can take. Some of them are just the click. Some of them she prepares a script that you can use if you want to call your legislator. So I really encourage you, when you see something from Jeannie Silver, that you take a look, because she tries to be selective. She has tons of resources, and she tries to just send the most important things forward. So please watch for those. And she'll talk about the U.S. complicity in the genocide, particularly in Palestine, which of course has been a big issue for way too many months, and tries to keep everybody informed about what's going on in the West Bank and East Jerusalem and Gaza. Facebook posts, we do post on the WILF US Facebook from time to time, and we hope to increase that in 2025. We work hard to do something memorable at our triennial congresses. We've brought folks in from Palestine in particular, also elected officials, including the only Palestinian member of Congress who did a video for us that we shared at one of our congresses. This latest one, Barb Taft brought in Mazen Komsea, who's a Palestinian scientist and author, and he's the director of the Palestine Museum of Natural History. That's
1 minute.
At Bethlehem. And he was great. And she also brought in Rabbi Eric Asherman. So we really try to make those memorable and encourage you to attend those during our congresses. We did a webinar and we brought in Al Jazeera reporter Sharif Abdul Kudos, and he stayed with us for the entire movie and then answered questions afterwards. And I want to close with just reminding everybody of our buttons: Stand Up for Peace, Stand Up for Palestine. So they're in the Palestinian colors, and we have the WILF logo on them. We design them, we send them to branches, 5 to every branch, to our U.S. Board members and to our MEPCHEC committee. And we still have 63 left if anybody needs any more of them. And I hope I have a little bit of time anyway for Barb and Odile to add anything they want to add.
No, you really don't have any time left for them to add. Maybe we can come back to them after everyone's done, but thank you. That was thorough.
When can we ask a question of someone?
After
At the
we're
end?
done.
Okay.
That's only 2 more reports. UNCSW. Is that you, Jan?
Oh, yeah, that'd be me too. And I didn't prepare anything for there. We just, I'm really excited to be the leader of our local to global program where we take seasoned WILF members out to the UN. They meet with thousands, literally thousands of other activist women from around the world, get updated on issues that are important to women. We were there this year, just this month, in fact, is how can we do better? How can we use our consultative status better? I'll take myself off video because that sign, I'm getting a weak signal sign. So very excited to be part of that program. This year we took 5 women in, and normally it's 4, but we were able to take a 5th one in. So now I bet I have some time, and maybe Barb and Odile want to weigh in on, or anybody else on CSW. Right, George?
Yes. Any hands up to add to CSW or to MEPJAC? You've got like a minute and a half. All right. Yes, I'm very quick on the draw. The last person is Mary Beth to talk about women, money, and democracy.
Hi, everybody. In follow-up to our annual Women, Money, and Democracy Committee planning retreat in early February, we held a meeting on March 18th to review the projects our members had asked us to prioritize during 25 and 26. Those included working more closely and collaboratively with the Disarm Committee. We plan to focus on the Warheads to Windmills project and the other one about not supporting banks and companies that invest.
Divest.
What is it?
Divest.
Divest.
Yes, thank you. We're also continuing to normalize the conversation about monetary reform and the importance of moving away from a debt-based currency. We'll be planning a webinar this year, which will seek to compare and contrast the mission, processes, and interconnections between the U.S. Treasury, the IRS, and the Federal Reserve, so that regular folks can understand the underbelly of our economy and how it affects them. Building up resources for branches to engage more closely with mutual aid and housing resources during a time when the Oval Office is deliberately creating more homeless people and families, and continuing to work with our partner in Economy of Our Own to increase women's understanding of how economic policies affect their lives and how they're able to feed, house, and sustain themselves and their families. And finding a central meme for our work that encapsulates the essence of our committee's mission and values and the work that we take on. Because several of our key members were traveling in March. We weren't able to make much progress this month, but we'll keep working on these projects in April and beyond.
Okay, thank you. That's all of our issue committees, and I will take a couple of minutes to say what I wanted to say for program committee. I just wanted to make a few points. One is, this is a lot of information for Linda to take in, and I hope that she and I will be able to meet either Friday or Sunday on the, either bookend of the board meeting to think about what all this means from all of you as issue committees. What does our overall program look? What's the picture of the program for WILF US? They can be used to promote us or used to raise money for us if we need that. Okay. And Teresa, your hand is up, and then Barbara. Teresa, and then Barbara, and then we'll hear questions from Linda.
Well, it's overall the issue of being action oriented. And it's interesting in my one-on-one conversation with Linda, talking about the difference between advocacy and activism. Well, activism is about social change and action. And what I wrote in the chat to MEPJAC, which has action in its name, but I struggle with that because at the last meeting I attended of the full committee, we agreed to meet to talk, I thought, about a more strategic long-term approach to building solidarity. And at that meeting, Jeannie seemed laser focused on the BDS campaign, but nothing ever came of it. And so in the Advancing Human Rights Committee, we have made a point to work for public policy change, like ending the death penalty for intellectual disabled persons, which is probably going to happen in Georgia, because Georgia has the worst law on that. And so how could we pass reparations ordinances? How could we do the kinds of things that are action-oriented? And I say, George, that is something that has to happen with the program committee perspective on being action-oriented. And this is probably my last program committee meeting for a while, since there are two other co-chairs for the committee, which I facilitated. So I do want to get that in as I work on other stuff, including support for Gaza through the Women in Conflict Zones. And there will be an announcement for me at the end on that. Thank you, George, for allowing me.
Thank you, Teresa. Barbara?
Yeah.
Thank you. I actually have two areas I wanted to ask questions about. One is, can anyone tell me if we have been in contact with Hanan Awad? And if so, what do we know about her and where is she? Is she in the West Bank? Is she someplace else? And do we interact with her at all as through WILPF International? That's one question. And the second question is to the whole group. This August is the 80th anniversary of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and I have not heard in recent program committee meetings about anything being planned, which probably should be planned sooner than later, for WILPF US to commemorate and memorialize issues around those horrors. And we have Hideko who is active in our section, and I'm sure who could be able to give us guidance on things that might be helpful for us to do. But I think we could be very active throughout the branches and locally on this August.
You're right. You're absolutely right, Barbara. Thanks. So when I said Barbara Taft's hand has been up, and thank you, Barbara Nielsen. We're gonna get on that. You're right.
And if anybody wanted to ask Hideko to say anything at all, I think it would be a fine thing. I'm not asking you to make a speech, Hideko, but I think it would be helpful to give you a minute to say a word or two.
Let's get to Barbara Taft's question. She's been waiting.
Sure.
And then Hideko, if you want to say something, that would be great. Teresa El-Amin can answer you about Hanan, and then Cheryl will come to you after Hideko. Barbara?
Okay. Just a couple of quick things. One of them is that we're all interested in growing WILPF, and we do know that a lot of young people are very interested in what's going on in Israel and Palestine, and we need to take the opportunity to involve young people in what we're doing. Middle East Peace and Justice Action Committee has looked at that, and we haven't moved forward with it as much as we need to. And another thing is that we really want to get our branches involved and so that we know what the branches are doing as well as them knowing what we're doing. And I think all of our committees need to be involved in that sort of work. That's it.
Thanks, Barbara. Hideko, do you care to say anything for a couple of minutes?
Thank you. Every year in Southern Oregon, I have been actively engaged in representing my concern with Hiroshima and Nagasaki still must be remembered very, very actively by Americans, but there's a barrier there. I don't think the Americans like to think about it, but I do hold and take part on vigil. And this year will be the 80th vigil, so that I think that I'll be busy. Sometimes I give a speech, or sometimes I read the vigil, and in different ways. But this is extremely important in my vision, that nuclear weapons use has grown in interest and not lessened, which is very threatening to our planet. Although I have done many, many things using the expression collective healing, that wounds in the Americans through Pearl Harbor and the wounds that we have as the survivors of the nuclear weapons assault in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. I have tried to do many, many things to reconcile both of us by bringing in seeds from the revived trees that survived the bomb in Hiroshima and planting them in all around the U.S. as well as over 50 places in the state of Oregon. And with the QR code that explains the history and the reasons why, and our hope to be having a friendship renewed together in public places. And I think I've been pretty successful, and don't think it's been easy. Nobody was interested in it, and I had to go knocking on the door for a long, long time. And one thing I can brag about is that I never give up. It's something in my character. There is no vocabulary giving up. And so that's what made it work. Anyway, it was a lot of work.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Hideko. And that is worth repeating.
In case everybody doesn't know that Hideko is a survivor of the Hiroshima bombing.
Yes, he's also the representative of Hiroshima as an emissary of the Hibakusha. So it would be good for us to try to figure out something to do as a section. And obviously this is not the time to start doing details, but it is still in March where we would have more lead time than we sometimes have had in the past. And this is pretty much a striking anniversary, 80 years.
Yes, it is.
Thank you, everybody.
Yes, Teresa has a question, and Teresa can answer your question about Hanan. Teresa?
Well, it's to answer the question. As Mandela said, none of us are free until the Palestinians are free. And I made that point on March 19th. And Hanan is very clear about her priority for Gaza, and we communicate regularly. And I will say more in my announcement about how the Women in Conflict Zone webinar, Next Steps, will engage all of the conflict zones from the speakers who spoke on March 19th with a priority on Gaza and the DRC if my proposal is accepted tomorrow. But I'm in close contact with Hanan, Hala, and Shireen, and they are working against the bombs dropping in Lebanon just as we speak, and also in Gaza. They really haven't stopped. The ceasefire is not real. I do communicate with Hanan, and she is very much the leader of the Palestine section, and she speaks all over the world. She's on it. Thank you.
Yes. Thanks, Teresa. And Cheryl, can you function with that thing in your mouth?
I've just taken it out for a brief moment. Yes, so the Disarm Committee is already on the fact it's the 80th anniversary of the Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombings. We have joined a very large coalition similar to the one that worked on the 75th anniversary 5 years ago. And Rethink Media organization, I put the link in the chat, got us all working together 5 years ago. We're going to be doing it again to bring much attention to this anniversary to the whole world. And so I did write to a bunch of you the other day, but Barbara Nielsen, possibly you were not on that list. So have no fear, the Disarm Committee is on to this and will be encouraging all our branches to do something. This is actually sometimes the only thing that some of our branches do all year, is to commemorate this. But I'm hoping to get virtually all the branches to actually have done something. We'll give them a variety of possible actions they can do. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, that is good to hear. All right, so we've overwhelmed you with information, Linda. I would be blown away. I take in information fine, but I don't process it immediately. And I know that we will lose Teresa El-Amin, former chair of AHR, at 9:30 in 9 minutes, but we're not going to be done with our meeting in 9 minutes because we're going to hear questions from Linda, and then you can pose questions to Linda. So
I will stay, George. Please don't ever assume and speak for me. I've told you this 1,000 times. I can make adjustments, and I will make adjustments since you didn't keep up with the time you originally planned. I will still support the meeting. I will stay.
Great. So Linda Lowe, any questions you have for us or for any issue committee chair?
Yeah, I have many. So first of all, thanks for inviting me to be here with you today. I have met some of you in person, some of you in Zoom, and I'm looking forward to meeting you all in person one day. We have a lot of good hard work to do together. And I'm here to learn from you and partner with you. I have a reflection, and then I have a number of questions. I think what immediately strikes me is I hear about all of the good work that you're all doing and hard work. I know everything is interconnected. I think all of us in this room believe that. Everything is intersectional. The one sort of cross-cutting theme that stands out in my mind immediately that cuts across all of your issue committees is the theme of violence. So I wonder if there's something where we're mobilizing around language, a campaign. I'm not sure what it is, but where, this theme of violence, intersectional violence, combating violence is the anchor, like the spoke that we then use to speak about all these different issues. So just for some background for all of you, because I haven't had the chance to meet you all, I've worked in communications and marketing for 30 years globally for big international nonprofits like the Red Cross to really small ones like a little local nonprofit here where I live in Seattle supporting BIPOC kids in local school systems. And my one rule of thumb as a communicator is if you say everything, you say nothing. Because if you're overwhelming people with too much information, nothing is sinking. So in working with other big organizations which work on multi-issue committees, multiple issues, what I found has worked in the past is if we can anchor some sort of one thematic, and as I said here, the thing that strikes me right now that connects everything is violence. And then, independently, each committee goes off and dives down into what I'd call sort of like level 2 messaging to sort of anchor off of that theme and drill into disarm, Earth democracy, Cuba. Anyways, so that's one thing that immediately strikes me. So food for thought for all of you and for me as I absorb and learn how we communicate about it so we're not overwhelming people and therefore not really having impact. Secondly, I've heard a lot of you say, almost all of you say, you really want to get more involvement from branches. So I have to ask a hard question, beyond the very dedicated people in this room and the committees that you lead, what is the engagement like? Does the engagement really only stay within your committees, or is there active branch engagement, or does the answer to that change depending on which committee I'm asking that question of?
Or which people you're asking that question of.
Right. Yeah.
Because I think that's where we are. Some of us are active in branches and some of us are not.
Okay, well, so I guess I'd like to understand, and my goal, by the way, is to meet one-to-one with every contractor, every board member, every program or issue, every working group committee chair, every issues committee chair. Time is the barrier, right? Just know that you're on my list. I'm going to email or call you and hope to book some time with you to dive deeper and ask you these questions one-to-one, because it's probably not productive in this group setting where we only have 5 minutes left. But that's one of the key questions that I'll ask you when I do have the opportunity to meet with you independently. And what's driving that is power in numbers, right? So, and I've heard, because I'm in my 4th week now, that there has been challenges in getting sort of different branches involved. And I want to understand why that is. Is it because they're not interested in the issue? Is it because they're tired? Is it because, maybe depending on which person or which issue committee I talk to, it'll be a different answer. But I think that's something very important as we talk about how we work together across disciplines or across committees. And then my next question, so I'm planting seeds for questions that I'm going to ask you again when I talk to you one-to-one, is have you all collaborated much before across your different committees? I'm guessing the answer is you've definitely tried. And like, what's worked well? What's stuck? What's had traction? That's another big question for me. And what's getting in the way of that? So I'm going to leave it there. Those are the questions that I have for you. I'll hopefully get into it with you one-to-one. And I'm happy to answer questions that you might have for me, I know, George, your timekeeping, we have 3 minutes left. Is that right?
No, I said before we're going to go beyond this time. I don't know how much beyond, but no one really abused their time. We just got started late, and then it was what it is. But does anyone have a question for Linda? Barbara Taft, I see your hand.
Yes. In terms of getting people involved and working along with the branches, one of the things that I've noted is that young people, especially today, have a different idea of how to work as a committee or a group, and we have to do something to change that. Do you have any suggestions how we can change to be more appealing to some of these young people?
Well, let me start by saying, as a stepmother of a 19-year-old, I consider myself an expert on that question. And I have many ideas. I watch him and his friends, and I mentor a lot of young people too. You're so right, Barbara. I mean, it's just a totally different way of being right now. Gone are the days amongst younger people of long-term commitment. Well, no, I shouldn't say that. Some do it, But for the most part, this whole way of being amongst this younger generations are, much more fluid, like short-term sprints, in it for a campaign, in it for a social media, day, in it for a protest, in it for advocating, only for a blitz. And I've seen these young people sort of ebb and flow, create alliances, break the alliances, create alliances, break the alliances. And so what I will say, and I have thought this as I'm in my 4th week. I've also been lurking in the background, right, for a few months, really. I do think that this model that we're all used to, of meeting every week, meeting every month, that's not going to work for the younger generation. That's just not how they operate. So my question back to you all is, can we evolve? I'm not saying blow up our normal rhythms and mechanisms. I think structure is important. The 50-year-old in the room, I think structure is important. But so I'm sort of like in the spot of like bridging to maybe across all the segments. But can we, as WILF, adapt the way we work? So yes, we're structured, but also much more flexible and nimble. That's another question I have for you. I've seen other people do it. I think we can. I think maybe a way forward is testing it, Maybe you don't have to change everything we're doing, but maybe it's one project that each committee is doing that we're trying to do differently so that we can meet the younger people where they are. That's
Cool.
my instinctive response.
Excellent. Teresa.
Yeah.
Oh, well, Linda, I really appreciate our one-on-one conversation. And the question I ask you, why did you accept the job? And I will be sending you a couple of emails to help with your orientation so you understand that WILF is an elderly organization by design. The Seattle branch went out of business because people got too old. That was true of Portland, and that is consistently true because the elderly women of European descent do not recruit younger women because they refuse to share power. That's a fact which should not be in dispute when you look at how long some of the older women have held leadership roles in the various committees in this very meeting. So I'm going to be completely frank with you. There are some cultural competency issues. The Fannie Lou Hamer branch is an all people of color branch. Everybody's African American except one member. And we attract younger women because you cannot do the work without listening. And there are younger women in the U.S. section of WILF who are forming, like Kim Poole, like Tara Vasefi, people I recruited and welcome. You have got to welcome younger people to change the organizational culture. That is fundamental. And you have a lot to learn, Linda, in these 3 or 4 months when you're going to be doing your orientation. And then you can decide if you want to stick with all the drama or not, using your word for March 21st, drama. There's plenty of drama to be seen. And I really appreciate that candid conversation with you on March 21st. Thank you, Linda.
So
Thanks,
here we
Teresa.
are, pretty late. Shelby Young is on our call, and she is the organizer, and I'd love her to say whatever she wants to say for not more than 2 minutes.
I just want to respond, George, to Teresa's comment.
Go ahead.
And hi, Shelby. I didn't see you come in. I don't know, Teresa, what's happened before me. I mean, I can imagine, right? I just want to talk about the power sharing thing. I understand that lots of people at WILF in the world have very historical ways of working, but I do also want to say I've met so many people at WILF, and I'll just call it, that are white and older than me, that have shown me that they do want to share power. So I feel like I don't know, what's happened before me. I can guess, I can imagine, but I feel like I'm feeling this goal of power sharing. I just want to call that's what I'm seeing. And I want to acknowledge I haven't met everyone, of course, but I'm definitely seeing that and feeling that.
Cool.
Thank you.
So, Shelby?
Hi, sorry. I know that I only have 2 minutes. Hi, Linda. I hopped on just to say hi and see what y'all were talking about. And thank you, George, for extending the invitation. I just heard a lot of great questions tonight and also heard a lot of great discussion on ways that we could recruit younger members. One thing I've been trying to work on myself is making sure that branch chairs and communities know that they have flexibility in the issues that they want to work on. I have seen just in my own community as a Gen Zer, I guess, that those really localized issues that you don't really hear about on national news all the time. Like, for example, some groups in Arizona have really kicked off not only in traction, but with members because they focused on localized issues such as like building new stadiums compared to actually creating affordable housing in their local area. School board candidates running that are incredibly insane. Sorry, I shouldn't use that word, but not nice people. So what I've been trying to encourage folks to do is look into those localized issues too. I love the work that we do, and the work that we do is so impactful. And I think that would be a great way as well to encourage young members is to really dive in deep on the local side. But there's so many great people here and so much great work being done. I'm just happy to be here. So thanks. Okay. Okay, bye.
Does anyone else have a question for Linda? Okay, I'm going to turn to announcements. Diane Blay.
Okay, I hope everyone got the email I wrote today. And it's basically, I was asked actually to request that all issue committee chairs make announcements at the Jane Addams meetings. And I wanted to announce that we're going to have, a couple years ago, we had a gathering. So we had the entire board speak, all the staff, and I think it was pretty successful. So I'm doing that on a modified version, this time having it at the same time as the Jane Addams meetings. So that will be happening this summer because there's no other Congress or anything going on. And then I have 3 interns who have expressed an interest in working with us. I sent out the information about that, and I really hate to lose them. We've lost several in the past. And so we need somebody who has projects, who wants to work with them. And so the information is there. There's going to be a Zoom next Tuesday afternoon, and 2 of the interns, full-time interns, the other one just wants to do like special projects, will be on the call. And I sent out the Zoom link so you could join the call. Okay, so that's pretty much it for me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All righty. Teresa?
Well, tomorrow at noon, Code Pink, the Convention for Pan-Africanism and Progress, the International Peace Bureau, Southern Anti-Racism Network, and World Beyond War will meet to talk about next steps for the Women in Conflict Zones effort. We recognize that it must be more than a one-stop webinar. So we'll be planning an evaluation meeting to include all of the speakers who were present on March 19th. So there will be a heavy WILF presence in the meeting, collaborating with the speakers. And because several of us, as the sponsors, Convention for Pan-Africanism and Progress and Southern Anti-Racism Network are represented by WILF members. So Lucy Murphy, George Friday, and I will be in the meeting tomorrow, the DMV branch, the Fannie Lou Hamer branch, and the Southern Piedmont branch. So listen up, because Julie and Hanan and Shireen and other WILF members across the globe. Is somebody laughing inappropriately?
Well, you don't determine whether my laughter is appropriate or not. I do, number one. Number two, I was reading a chat which says, if you can read it, you'll see why I chuckled.
Well, George, I will leave now. Thank you, George, for the meeting. Good night.
Good night. So, Mary Beth, do you want me to make you co-host and you do what you need to do, or I'll stop our meeting? Wait a second. Let me just make sure we're done with the agenda. Oh, I do want to name, because we can't deal with it now, but one of the things I will look into, and I want you all issue committees to think about, is the $500 per issue committee allowance. Now, the board hasn't seen the budget. At least I haven't seen the budget. If it's been sent, I didn't read it. So forgive me, but I don't know if that allowance is in the budget. It should be, but
The answer is yes.
Yes. Okay.
There was no change from last year.
All issue committees for $500 to use during the year of 2025. You use that before December 2025. Okay, so I'm stopping the recording and I will make